everyone, welcome to our first episode on the topic of friendship abroad. Today, I'm talking to Caleb and Faith, two friends who went abroad summer 2025 in the Florence Creative Writing Workshop program. They'll be talking about their experiences in Italy and how their friendship changed because of them. Caleb and Faith, welcome to And So the Story Goes, and thank you for chatting with us today. Can you both tell me a bit about yourselves?
Yeah, so I'll start. My name is Caleb Jakes. I'm currently a senior studying business and language media and communication. And I'm from Newark, New Jersey originally, but I'm in the process of relocating currently. But I went on this ISI Florence trip to Florence, Italy, and I went with.
Well, with me, hi everyone, I'm Faith. I am a third year double majoring in business and public health. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, so I definitely do love to travel. And I had the greatest opportunity to go abroad with Caleb and a few other people, so I'm really excited.
Great. Thank you guys so much for being here. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys know each other? Did you meet here at the university or abroad?
Yeah, so we did meet originally at the university, but we weren't as close, and we didn't really have a connection until we went on the trip. And we were actually planning things to do while we were still in the U.S. before we left. So that was kind of how we started to bond and really start to build a connection, was through planning other excursions while we were, planning to do our actual abroad trip.
Yes, and touching on that, the process was not easy. Both of us are very busy. I mean, on campus, I know I like to work in iZone. I'm also a peer advisor. So we usually met at nighttime. It would be at nighttime, we're crunching numbers, we're pulling out the whiteboards, and we're like, okay, we want to go to Rome. We want to hit France. It was a lot. And unfortunately, I will say our Paris trip, which we'll probably touch on later at some point, did not make it through. But we did get to explore Cinque Terre, which means 5 islands. We went to Rome, we went to Arezzo. So we did try to make the most of our experience, which definitely was fun. And we got to bond through that.
And I'd also say that, once we got to Florence itself, we were able to go to a lot of places that we didn't expect to, just taking public transportation, getting around, a lot of walking. I think this was actually the most steps I had ever taken in my life. I was averaging about 30,000 steps a day,
wow.
which, translates to about 14 miles. And that was just because the city is so walkable, and it's such a place where there's many tourists, so it actually will take you a lot longer to drive places than it would to walk. And that's something I learned doing Google Maps, is like, even if you were to put it in there, it's always going to be most times less when you're actually walking compared to driving, which is definitely different.
Yes, walking was a feat. And as somebody who does not originate from a very walkable city, I had some trouble. When they tell you to pack a comfortable shoe so you can walk around and still look stylish, please take that into account. I wanted to be cute the whole time, and I came back home to Texas with bunions. My foot was sore. I had walking problems. I had to put numbing cream. I do recommend, please wear something comfortable and still stylish for sure.
So I guess this is also where we talk about some of our stories and some of the crazier things that have happened while we were abroad. I think one of the biggest things that I just had to come to learn is that everybody comes to Florence in a lot of different ways, but one of the main ways that I saw, I don't know if you saw this a lot with the couples there. We know that it's very much
oh my gosh, you highlighted
yes.
that. One thing Caleb said, he was like, this is a very romantic city, or like, and it is. I do recommend like going there with family, friends, or loved ones. Like, it is very nice. The views are beautiful. There's a lot of places we walk to, like hilltop areas. So I think all of that just made it a little bit more intimate and fun with whoever you're being with. But yeah, as friends though, we enjoyed it. We were taking pictures of couples. Like, we were having our own fun time. So
yeah, and I definitely think that it encouraged, the spirit of love for sure, just because you would walk across a nice bridge, see the view of the beautiful river that was there that crossed the entire city, and you would see couples just making out like that. That's really how it was.
So to reel it back in, I say that Florence is definitely a place to meet new people. I know that depending on how often you went to a shop or a food place, you could talk to a vendor, and let's say you go 1 or 2, 3 times, next thing you know, you're best friends, and they know we're American. I mean, it's very, even when I try to say, grazie, I'm like buongiorno, you can hear it from my accent. But people are very friendly, and you just have to be willing to be open to meeting new people. I mean, we were on the other side. So I lived on one side of Florence, and Caleb here lived on the other side. So I would go over to meet either him or other friends there. And one time we were late at night, and something crazy happened. I don't know if you remember the story, Caleb. We were late at night. It was like 2, 3, 4 a.m. I don't know what time. Just literally on the side of the bridge. Then a lot of the younger people in our age come out because they have a very big nightlife there. We passed by, if you remember, and a guy was like, you guys can't be as loud as you are, because one thing about me and Caleb, when we are together, there is some noise to be made. We are laughing, 100%. Howling, and a group of other Americans passed by, and they're like, hey, if you guys go down this certain neighborhood, they will throw pee outside of their window. They will throw pee outside their window at you if you guys go down making that much noise and disrupting them. So we were like, what? Hold the phone. So we just kind of stayed in that bridge area for a hot minute. People passed by, so motorcycles, they were waving at us. Caleb talked to somebody from a university, and later met up with him, I think, or you guys connected. So it was really cool. It was definitely cool.
And to Faith's point, this other story that I just thought of was when we actually were talking with the vendor, we would often go to different markets that they would have, and there would be, obviously people knew we were not terrorist tourists. Tourists. Oh, forgive me, but they knew that we were tourists, and so they would try to up the prices for different things that we were trying to bargain. And so what we would do, we would walk in like a power dynamic. And what the thing was, when they would see it, they would question kind of like who's in charge.
Yes, they literally asked us. There's at least 2 times when they mentioned, they're like, so who's in charge? You or him? And we're like, we're both in charge. We're here. Well, one person could not do, we pick it up on the other end, and we bargained. So I got a leather bag. What did I got a leather jacket, which that story is even funnier. I'll go on that a little bit on a tangent. I wanted to get a leather jacket. I said I cannot leave Florence without something chic and cute. Yeah. So I went to multiple stores. One of them I was trying them on, but it just wasn't feeling right. And I went with my flatmates at that time. And the guy afterwards, he was like, "You guys are so beautiful. You guys are great. I love it." He was hyping us up. But then I told him, right now I'm not feeling any of this. His face dropped. Everybody got silent, and he was like, "So you wasted my time?" And then we kind of were all silent because we were like, the switch from charismatic to just not feeling it at all. I felt really bad, but I was like, I'm not going to spend all this for a jacket I don't like. Turns out I moved a little bit further down, and there was another leather market area, and that guy, I actually was showing him a Zara-inspired leather jacket, but he didn't know I gave it to his worker, and the worker showed him my phone. He said in Italian, but a little Italian and English. He was like, "What jacket is this? This is like a cheap, nasty American jacket." And then I walk up behind him like, "Hey, this is a jacket I wanted to some inspiration from. I want something like this." And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. This is a beautiful jacket, but I can find you something a little bit better." Long story short, we are bargaining in Italian. That is one thing I did pick up there. We were bargaining in Italian for prices, but I was not feeling the price he gave me. I called my mother. My mother is a Nigerian woman with some fierceness in her voice, and she was like, "Put it down lower. My daughter, she's here. Get it lower." And then he was getting tired. I'm not gonna lie. It was about time to close up. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "I want this. I think you want this. I know you want to make this sell." And then we end up closing it down, and it was not bad. I can't remember the price. I feel like it was under 100, which is crazy for a leather jacket there. So that's not bad, or something like that.
And then the one where we were together and we bargained down your bag.
Yes, we bargained on my leather bag as well. Yeah, it was really nice. I think I got that for like 45 euros, which is not bad. Because I forgot how much they told me before. It was like 120. Like 120, or they started very high because they know that some people are not willing to bargain. But I was ready. I was ready. Yeah.
There are many, many experiences. I think not just with the vendors, but I spent a lot of my time in Florence doing so much of the flea market shopping, basically, is what we would call it in the U.S. But they call it I think bins, or I forgot what it's called, but
just like the markets.
Yeah, their markets there. Basically, it's a row filled, basically an entire parking lot. You can imagine almost an acre filled with different vendors who come specifically on a Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And they would put out basically all different types of things. So you would have meat stations. Sometimes you get meat. You can get different cheeses. Sometimes you can get different fruits. But the majority of them were different clothing, apparel, furniture. So I would go there and see so many American products that you would even imagine were literally €1, €3, €5. And that translates in American dollars to about $3 to $7, and these are high quality things. Like I left there, I would go at around 7 a.m. because the locals told me to get there super early so I can make sure that I get the first dibs when they pour it out. And you're basically ravaging through so much clothes, looking for your size, looking for different things. And Faith has definitely spent too much time there getting women's clothes like that.
Let me tell you what he's referencing. So I did go to one of the markets, which my journey there was not fun at all. I was walking through the back era and alleyways just to get to this market, while there was a whole other area where a lot of people actually walk. But anyways, caveat to that, I found a bin of Forever 21. So Forever 21 did close, I think, a lot of their stores, right? Yeah. And there was a bin of it just full of clothes, dresses, and I was like, this is perfect. Now, I got there a little early, but I think women started seeing other girls there, and then boom, next thing you know, I turn around, 20 women are in the line. We're all putting our hands through trying to get as much as we can.
Oh, wow.
I got definitely some good pieces, a dress, some tops, definitely some good clothes, which I'm really happy, and they're still good quality pieces right now. So it was a great experience. I got some work clothes. Italians dress very nice, very business casual, and I love the linen. I love the clothes. I bought a pair of pants. I will say, when you do go to these markets, now Caleb did the wonders of starting off like truly in the bins. I am a little bit more of a Caleb said it, I didn't. He said I'm a little more bougie, so I like a little bit more organization when I'm going to a store. So the one I went to was definitely a lot more expensive, and I could have found a cheaper alternative, but I love the pants, and it was really nice quality, so I don't regret it. So definitely look at both sides. But
and as a note, like if you ever were to go to these bins or happen to find yourself in Florence, Italy, right, like make sure you're protecting yourself. People know you're a tourist, so I did get pickpocketed. So when I was going through different bins and I had cash in my pocket, more of euros in my pocket because I had gotten it there, if you're not careful, people will slip right into your pockets, take your cash, and you'll never know until you leave or you're about to pay. And so that was huge. That happened to me twice. It wasn't too much money that I lost, maybe like 25 total, but it's still, it's money that I could have saved. And the other thing is, you want to make sure that you come, I think this is really big, with cash, right? You want to be able to exchange your dollars, because if you're using a credit card or you're using a bank card, they are going to tax you to the max in terms of their own fees, because they know that they're the hot spot, they know that they're in the hub, and you're not going to go anywhere else to get your own currency translated into their euros. So I had to pay a lot of money in different fees just because I, decided not to come with cash and decided not to prepare, and my credit cards and all the things that I came with to actually pay for things got charged way more than it had to be, just because I didn't have that insured. Yeah.
And I love that Caleb is hitting you with some financial tips. I did bring a little bit more cash, but I will say you can also find some good rates depending on where you go to. We had a hotspot actually, very close to one of the infamous sculptures. However, we went further down next to we went to one of the museums, and at that place we actually found a better rate that gave us a little bit more bang for our buck. So that was where I started to get some. So for the rates, essentially, right, let's say like I gave him 100 euros, I would get back like 80. No, I gave $100, I would get back 82, right? About 82 euros. At the other spot, we were getting back maybe like 85 euros or close to 90. So they were saving a lot more money and getting a little bit more change, which was great. Also with pickpocketing, funny story. So we went to Cinque Terre. Cinque means 5, Terra's islands. And on the road there, so one thing Caleb did tell me about, we had a little inside joke. I was clutching onto my purse for dear life. I was very afraid of being pickpocketed because I mean, nobody wants to be pickpocketed. We were on the train, and just when I felt like I could loosen my tension on my new bag, I just got my new leather bag, I had to wear it out. I literally released my hands from my bag, and then boom, we hear, oh my gosh, she stole my stuff, she stole my wealth, give it back to me, right? And I'm looking outside of our train because we're trying to get back to Florence, and I look outside the window. There's a pregnant lady with a head covering, and she's running back, and she's like, no, I didn't take your money. And she's Italian. And then you have an American who's like, your hand went into my wallet, you took my wallet. Now they did not go off of the train or the bus. They instead just stood there and they kept talking about it. And the lady at this time, she's already retreating. She's going back with whatever card that she has. So at that point, that was just a reminder to never get too comfortable and definitely be mindful of what you're holding. But that was a very funny experience, I would say. That just reminded me to not get too comfortable in a new environment.
And the other thing that is really popular there, because they know that tourists are there, they have gambling going on. And so I actually found myself not gambling, but, watching it happen, in front of like 10, 20, 40 people, where they'll have a guy who's Italian who's basically throwing, I don't know if you ever seen the game where, you probably have this on iMessage where you have a cup and you're trying to figure out where the ball is under. And so in that arena, they would literally do that live on the ground, take a ball, move it around different places, and people would throw euros, like actual cash, down on where they think the ball is. But the issue is, right as they were about to choose the cup, they would switch the ball. So they would immediately win it. And so they would tell them, hey, look, we're going to do double or nothing. Hey, I know you thought you had it. So they're really trying to grift these Americans. And I actually saw one guy lose $800 because he decided to do double for a 400 and got his wife involved. And what they'll do is have other people in the crowd that are actually part of the same mafia and have them engaged, showing how they're winning, showing how they're making it, so it makes other people more comfortable actually making the bet. And so anyway, they ended up losing the 800. The guy was super upset, and out of nowhere, a guy taps the guy who was running the game on his shoulder, and he shows him his FBI badge, for Italian, and everybody scattered. So of course I ran. So I ran, away from the scene. I ran away from everybody because I was just like, no, I'm not about to get caught up with this. But, they ended up just removing the guy. He didn't end up getting arrested or anything like that, but him and his like little mafia fled in different ways, but they all kind of regathered, and I saw them again literally a week later. So yeah, they were literally still, doing it just in different areas where tourists were in those hotspots to gain, attraction in those different areas. But definitely, yeah.
That's definitely a not legal side hustle, but it is something that is out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of people and the influx of it, so we did come a little bit towards the earlier or mid part of May. Mm-hmm. And there, I would say that's not the prime time for a lot of tourists to come. It wasn't until the end of our program that we started to see a lot more tourists. The streets were being flooded. It's known for cafes, right? I think that I forgot the term in Italian, but we have a lot of cafes there in Florence and a lot of sandwiches, paninis, excuse me. We have a lot of paninis there. So a lot of people like to come in there, and there's pigeons. If you are afraid of birds, beware of the pigeons. I'm hysterically afraid of them now because they are very, very strong-minded. They will come in your face. They're looking for food, and people feed them. So, they're a little more domesticated when it comes to that. So whenever you have a little snack, they're flying at you. But aside from the people and the paninis, which this is controversial, I do not like them. I don't like paninis. We had something called copa. It's a kind of meat. I didn't like that. I do like my meat more cooked than what's the right term? Like, not baked, but like cured maybe. I do like my meat more cooked. So I wasn't the biggest fan of the paninis.
I know that for me, I did have a little bit trouble eating some of the, not, I guess, cooked meat like I like it, but one of the biggest things that was obviously amazing over there was the pizza, right? Let's start there. Pastas, all of that was top tier. You'll never get anything like that. And in fact, I wasn't even bloated, so it was really, really good.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah, I was never bloated. I was never in a situation where I felt like my gut was killing me because of all the bread and pasta I was eating. In fact, it's because they're making it so naturally over there compared to all the processed foods that they're giving us in the U.S. I mean, completely different diet. We lost so much weight over there. Then we came back and gained it. Well, I did. Anyway, let me stop. But the food was very good. And the meat, oh my God, the meat was so good. We had baked chicken a lot. We had, like fresh, chicken is not supposed to be as big.
Speaking of chicken, I'm going to raise a memory for Caleb right now. We went to a store called Conad. Conad is a grocery store that he is an ambassador for. I think they need to sign him up. But basically, they have a lot of fresh foods there. So think about I wouldn't even compare it to a Walmart, but if you all are familiar with a Costco, on one eye, you have little rotisserie chickens. You have fresh French fries. You have pizza. Another side, you have, your regular chips, your regular juices, drinks, all those things like that. So if you're a college student like we are and you just want a quick meal sometimes and chefing it up, you could go get a rotisserie chicken, make you some rice, get some stew, boom, you have a full meal for like a few days. I will say, since things are a little bit more fresh, things can spoil. So definitely, if you're like a big batch maker like I am, I found it a little bit harder sometimes, because food wouldn't taste as good as it did like 2-3 days later. But food was really, really well. And like you said, we are not bloated. It was very light, a lot of walking. So everything kind of canceled each other out, which I appreciated a lot. And I do love that. Gnocchi pasta. I did not know I liked gnocchi pasta until I came back. And I was like, wow. And now I make it at home, so.
Oh, you do make it, yeah. And I had a really good time, obviously, with the different pastries. I know I tried so much gelato, so it's not ice cream, it's gelato. And I tried many different flavors from, Oreo to vanilla to just, oh my God, they have flavors that are fruit there. So you can get a lemon one, you can get, an orange one. I mean, so many different times we had Italian ice. And that I was so upset that our professor did not show us it earlier when she knew that I would be, a fan of
We
it.
went back for seconds. So she told us the place. We went together, and then closer to the end of our program, me and Caleb walked with ourselves at nighttime and went to that same Italian ice place. It was very rich, very
rich.
creamy, and people saw us eating and laughing, and they were like, "What are y'all eating?" And then we told
Yeah.
them where it was.
Yeah.
So it was a very nice
Yeah.
experience, I'd say.
And I think also the biggest thing too that's huge over there is the pastries. Like I had so much, donuts, cakes, breads, and a lot of it was so light. Like there was one that I started eating when I was over there. It's not here in the US, but pistachio croissants. Like, and they may make them over here, but it's not as it's rare over here. But when I had one of those, like I could never imagine myself eating anything pistachio that had a filling like that. But it is unmatched over there, and it's something that I think everybody should at least give a try. And then if you have donuts and all these other things, they're so much more fresh and they're airier and they're lighter. So even if it may taste sweet, it's never like a processed sweet where you feel tired or sluggish after. Like I'm telling you, it's a different type of food. Even though it's the same name or the same things, it's made with so much more natural ingredients.
Yeah. And speaking of food, we wouldn't have known all the names for paninis, copa, without our survival Italian class. Our survival Italian class, which is a little bit more structured, so we're telling you about our experiences, but the more educational and class structure of our program came from our wonderful teacher. Her name was Katia, and she taught us, how to bargain. What were the numbers in Italian? What are common phrases? How do you say good morning? How do you say good night? How do you say hello? Buongiorno, buonasera, grazie. So we first came in saying grazie. I feel like that's a very common, funny joke that everyone says, but it's grazie. And, now that we knew that, everybody felt a little bit more like we were professionals. I took the numbers and ran with it. One thing that I did get commended for during my times with bargaining, people were like, these numbers. And I was like, I had to learn them. So Katya, she told us a lot. She gave us jokes. We learned about how she perceives Americans and what we think of them. One of our favorite comments from her, which we'll talk about, was she said that we have the American pizza, but you guys open your fridge and you pour out all of your condiments on your pizza. While here in Italy, we just have a pizza with maybe a light veggie or a light, maybe one or two meats. But she says we have 3 meats. Then you have this, and you have a fruit, and you have a. I'm not gonna lie. Our wonderful Professor Katya did. She ate us up a little bit. That's a term. She definitely called us out for eating really big. She's like, you guys love to eat big. I love your breakfast. She said, I went to America, and one thing I love about Americans is your big breakfast. So I definitely think she was calling us out on the fact that we do eat everything bigger here in the States. But I do love that, you could just joke about those different cultural, moments with each other and still be like, okay, but, I like this and I don't like this. And that was real nice. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of great advice here. Do you have any advice surrounding, making friends abroad? Were you nervous about maybe not knowing people or not getting along with people while you were away?
I'll start off. So I was in a flatmate situation, we're in our own apartment essentially, and I did know some people and I didn't know some people. And it is interesting, you really learn about people from different disciplines. So I did say in public health and business, a lot of the other people in this program, since it's a creative writing intensive, they were in different art divisions. There may be history majors, art majors, writing majors. So it was learning how different people lived, I would say. You have a group of people and they all have different experiences and backgrounds. And it's really interesting because you learn about yourself through the experiences with others, but you also learn about what you like and you dislike about living in a space. But I really appreciate it. I learned a lot about personalities, likes, and interests. I learned how to play a card game. I forgot the name now, but I did learn a card game with them, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. And even talking to people, I think one thing I do say I a little bit regret was not talking to more strangers or people that I could tell were studying abroad. There are hotspots. You can always look them up. Now TikTok is a hotspot, a search engine for people. Go out to these places and cafes that have, hotspots for study abroad students and really meet people. One of them, when we went into ISI, which is what kind of sponsored our program, I met a student who went to Trinity University, I believe, or Trinity College. And just by talking to her, right, we exchanged Instagrams and stuff. Now, we couldn't meet as much throughout our program because her duration, she ended up moving to another city in her time that we were there. But it's just those small things that you can get to connect with people. And me being in Florence, I actually met someone abroad in the summer in my internship, and I told her I was in Florence the same time she was. So like, it's just small connections that you can make. So definitely don't be too afraid to put yourself out there a little bit and be open to meeting people and just sharing your experiences with them.
Yeah, and I had one experience with this guy that I met. Faith mentioned it earlier, where it's like 2 a.m. and we were, told that we were gonna get pee thrown at us if we weren't quiet. And basically, I met this guy from the University of, I believe, Utah or something like that, and he was also doing a study abroad trip there, and so we connected. We were actually talking about gym and workouts and different things like that. And you can go abroad and just think that you won't meet people unless you ask the question, do I want to expand my connections? Do I want to expand my network? And you have to say yes to it. I mean, what other time are you going to be in a whole nother country, on a broad experience, and you have the opportunity to meet like-minded people, or people that are at least in your demographic age-wise, and at least get to know about their perspective. And I think even that one conversation with him, opened my eyes to some things. Like, this is something that a lot of us in college take for granted sometimes too. And it's like, when you have opportunities that are presented like this, it's such a experience that obviously you want to take full advantage of, but you want to make sure that you maximize it. And I think that, connecting with people, even though you may think or be nervous about, meeting new people, it's essential for your success in a program like that.
And when it comes to working out at night or like meeting people at night, I think I mentioned this before, but we're bringing up the term trifecta, which our wonderful professor, Miss Katya, taught us about. So if you don't know what the trifecta is, she said there are 3 things to keep in mind when you're late at night. I did say Florence is a nightlife place. Like, it's alive when the lights are off. People are coming out. We actually stumbled upon, it was an unintentional moment, but a lot of people were dancing with each other this one time near the, Mercados, one of the terms for it's, the central Mercado areas. And it was really wonderful. People were dancing, moving together, but there's a lot of fun. I mean, the drinking age there is a little bit younger, so a lot of people are enjoying themselves. But this trifecta is essentially 1, you want to make sure that you are not under the influence and without a partner. 2, you want to make sure that, number 1, you know of where you're going, your area. So the joke with that in our class was just making sure that when it's nighttime and you're having fun, that you're not being influenced by the trifecta and you know how to get back home and just have fun. So I think the best thing is just keeping that in mind and keeping things lighthearted when you are abroad, but definitely making sure that safety is number 1, because you are in a new environment and you are not as well adversed in that area.
Yeah, and people will, take advantage of it if you allow them. That's definitely a huge thing that happens there, especially Americans, because they know, we have money. They know we don't really know much about the culture there. So, you do have to be on some level of guard and at least knowing where you live. And I know to make that a little issue with that, but when you gotta have Wi-Fi, you need to have an eSIM, you need to have things that you can communicate with your device, and so you know where to go with the satellite. But yeah.
Speaking about living and knowing where you live, now I'm a little directionally challenged, but I would say my time abroad has expanded my ability to know where I am. So towards the end of the program, I did have a little bit better routing to know how to get back to my place. But in the beginning, if I did not have Wi-Fi, I was essentially stranded. I cannot lie. So definitely get an eSIM. That's an electronic SIM card. Definitely know how to navigate where you're going. You should know at least 1 to 2 blocks away from your location. And always have a friend that knows where you're going. Don't just walk off. Make sure somebody knows where you are at. Share locations for the time being. You don't have to do it forever, but at least within that time span, share your location. So,
and yeah, just, we want to double down on have fun, right? Me and Faith spent a lot of time just being outside. We went to a lot of live music and live. Oh my gosh, when I tell you, the people there truly love their profession in terms of just singing or whether it's playing. Art. We saw so many street artists, so many people who just knew their craft and were not afraid to stand in the middle of tourists and just go ahead and put their stuff out there for people to, buy and observe. And so it definitely entertained us a lot, and it's free as well. You don't have to pay for that, but you can literally we heard a guy who's basically like an opera singer, just singing for 20-30 minutes just out of his heart. And obviously we tipped and just dropped something in the bucket, but it is something that you don't have to search far for entertainment. You don't have to search far for something of human even talent being exhibited in a city like Florence.
Florence is definitely a city of just art in terms of, like he said, you have music, you have painters, you have people who are so creative. So if you are looking for a place to really immerse yourself, if you're a creative soul, definitely, if you can, explore Florence, explore Italy, and see what you can learn from it too. I'm not a creative writer. I did talk about this was a creative writing class, so we had fun, guys, but we did go to class. Please go to class. I learned like that creative writing is a lot of work. It's not just something you do in one day. We had to do iterations of our work. We had to do revisions. We had seminars, group discussions on each other's work. So it was really an interesting place to learn how to connect creativity with also like real world experiences. So definitely a great time and opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Can you guys reflect on your friendship together? Now that you're back at school, back in Rochester, has it changed at all?
It definitely has made us way more tight. Like we will laugh about an experience from Italy in a heartbeat, and I think that always will be there, and I think it also, even the other people that we were flatmates with, we still connect with them. We still talk to our advisors or our teachers from that, and we have very, very good connections because we live with them in all other countries. So I think it doesn't go away unless you actively make sure it does, and I think with Faith and I, we've been so consistent in seeing each other, at least passing by, and so we'll end up always bringing up something about Italy and just laughing about the good times or looking at photos. We took hundreds, thousands actually,
Hundreds.
of
You
photos.
brought out a professional camera.
Yes.
Caleb
Wow.
had a great camera that I
Yes.
definitely abuse and use.
Yes. Yes. So, we have so many memories to look at. We have people that we want to come on the trip next year. So, our friendship and us talking about it, people saw a lot of good things out of it, and they want to now join and want to do it and apply the following semester. So definitely think it was a fruitful experience for our friendship, and more that it will be replicated in future semesters with the
And I'm excited for anyone who will join and also hopefully be able to like strengthen their relationships. Like Caleb said, we knew each other in passing like every other person does on campus, but having this experience where we plan trips with each other. I mean, I didn't know what Caleb was like abroad. He probably didn't know my habits, but we learned with each other. We know what each other liked. We know what we didn't like, what we preferred. And it was just a great way to not only expand with each other, but just the people we met. And it's really great. I think even after this, when we graduate, I know Caleb's a senior, like it's definitely a connection that I will reach out to him whenever he's in my city in Houston or I go to where he's at. Like it's definitely fun. It's not a one-time thing. Study abroad is definitely a full-time experience. So I definitely recommend, if you can, please try to study abroad and look for resources too. There's always someone willing to help you learn abroad or learn through a new experience.
Thanks for listening to the episode. Next episode will be our last of the season, where I'll be talking to two friends from different universities who met while abroad in Australia. Now, I'm going to hand over the mic to Jessie, another study abroad ambassador, so she can share a handy travel tip from her abroad experience.
My second tip is to get involved with local activities. This can be volunteering, playing sports with locals, or just talking with locals. Being immersed in the country you're going abroad to will make it so much more worth it.
Hi, listeners. We'd like to remind you that the opinions expressed by our guests on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Center for Education Abroad or the University of Rochester. Our podcast aims to foster dialogue, critical thinking, and exploration of various topics related to education abroad. We encourage listeners to consider multiple viewpoints, engage in respectful discourse, and form their own opinions. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our community.